You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your coach, Jason.
Your co-host, Danny.
Fans, we got a full show for you today. But first, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Danny, the NFL has had its final game of the season, that being the Super Bowl. And oh boy, it wasn't a game. Let's just say that this thing was a blowout in the Eagles' favor. 40-22. That score is not indicative of what this game was really about. Because at halftime, this game was 24-0. The Chiefs didn't even have, I can't even count, man. You can count the number. I'll take that back. You can count the number of first downs. I don't see it right in front of me, but it was probably like maybe just a couple first downs that they had. There's only a few more yards that they had. This was a beat down. You talk about the Eagles' defensive line just dominating an offensive line. This was crazy. Jalen Hurts is the MVP. 17 for 22, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Ran for 72 yards on 11 carries, scored a touchdown. Saquon Barkley, 25 carries for only 57 yards. Devontae Smith has a beautiful catch, 4 receptions, 69 yards for a touchdown. A.J. Brown, 3 receptions, 43 yards for a touchdown. This was a beatdown, man. A pick 6 that Mahomes threw. Just a complete and utter mess. Cooper DeJean, he returns it for a touchdown, the pick 6. Patrick Mahomes throws for 257 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But listen, man, the first half was the game, basically. You knew what time it was. And once they get that final touchdown in the second quarter, man, I was like, that's ball game. Patrick Mahomes, yes, it says rushing 4 carries for 25 yards, but man, he was running for his life out there. Xavier Worthy, the rookie, had a very impressive game. 8 receptions, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. What was really missing from the Kansas City offense was a whole lot. One of those components was that of rushing. Kareem Hunt only had 9 yards rushing on 3 carries. Pacheco, 3 carries for 7 yards. Where was the rushing game, man? And I think this was because that Eagles defensive line was just so wicked, man, that I think the Chiefs were scared to run. What say you about this game, man?
Yeah, Jason, if there was an MVP, man, it was the Eagles defensive line.
Yeah.
You got a glimpse, though, of if Mahomes had time, like that end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, that was the game people were envisioning, right? And like you could tell right off the rip in their first possession of the game or, series, they threw it every time. They did not run the ball once. They're stuffing Barkley. The Chiefs were stuffing Barkley, but they kept at least putting a threat out there that trying to run. And then, Jalen Hurts did his thing. So they didn't even give an opportunity for Pacheco or Hunt to get even going in the game because their first possession, it was throw.
Yep.
Those boys were putting that heat on Mahomes, and the offensive line, man, they're just dominated. It wasn't even close. Like
not even close, man.
So you couldn't even, I know Mahomes, he had 2 bad picks. The one pick, the second one, his offensive lineman was knocked into him. So that kind of threw him off balance for that second pick because I thought if they score there, at least put some points on the board,
Yeah.
It would at least make the Eagles think going into the second half because the Chiefs received the ball in the second half. Jalen Hurts looked so comfortable back there. he had the one bad pick, but other than that, he was dropping dimes and he had a great game.
Yeah, he
Um,
did. To that point, man, Jalen Hurts have outdueled Patrick Mahomes in not only one Super Bowl, but two.
mhm.
Let's be real on that.
Yeah, and he, like I said, he made some big plays with his legs. Got some first downs. As we've said all playoffs long, Jason, as every year goes, team that makes mistakes
Hmm.
usually loses. And the Chiefs they had the picks and they had gave the Eagles great field position. And it was just a lot of things culminating in this game that, like I said, watching the fourth quarter where Mahomes had time, he was a little more comfortable.
Hmm.
He was picking apart the Eagles, but he just didn't have that time. And it was good to at least see him and what he may have done. But all in all, man, congratulations to the Eagles for bringing the noise. Just think back in the season, man, where there was all that turmoil between
Hmm.
Jalen Hurts
Hmm.
and AJ Brown, which AJ Brown got a little heated on the sideline again. I'm like, you do realize you're up 17-0 in the Super Bowl, but whatever. But going from that point where they thought everything was going to go downhill and they took it the other way and put everything together and got themselves a Super Bowl.
One of the worst things in the Super Bowl was that of the, I don't know about you, but what annoyed me the most was the scoreboard the
Oh, the
graphics for
graphics.
it. Oh my gosh, that was the absolute worst, man. This was on Fox, and Fox, that was the absolute worst thing you could have done, man. That I had to get used to that. I was like, what is this, man? This is supposed to be the biggest game of the season,
But the biggest font,
potentially.
and they had the biggest font for the biggest
Yeah,
game.
the biggest five was like, man, this is taking up a quarter of the screen, man. What is going on, man? They need to deal with that. And I would say this, Danny. Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Does this cement Saquon Barkley into the Hall of Fame? He has 7 years. Now, 1 year he was injured.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a 2,000-yard season. He got his first all pro this year, 3-time Pro Bowler.
Mm-hmm.
Now has a ring. AP Offensive Player of the Year this year, Rookie of the Year when he came in as a Giant. Currently has about 7,216 yards. Does this put him into the Hall of Fame?
I'm gonna say no.
Oh,
I think he needs one more solid year with the Eagles, and I think he'll be in. Like Saquon's a great talent,
mm-hmm.
but New York was so up and down. There was no consistency. Not to say it was his fault because he was on some bad teams, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we know what we can do. But I think if he gets one more year, I'm not saying he has to go for 2,000 or anything like that, but he needs another strong showing because the body of work is still not complete, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I see that another season or two.
Hmm.
Um, but I think he's more so a shoe in having the ring as opposed to not having the ring.
Oh, that definitely helps us. And it's an East Coast thing too, right? Being in
Yeah.
Philly,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think that definitely helps his case as far as getting him there. But I think he just needs one more strong season to showcase his talent and get closer to that 10,000-yard mark. I think would
Yeah.
definitely help him.
And if you're a Giants fan, man, how do you feel about all this right now, man? Do you feel happy that Saquon won, or do you feel some other kind of way that he won? Or do you feel, I mean, just because he's now Eagles, do you feel some kind of way towards the Eagles? I mean, if you're a Giants fan, tell us what you think, man, because you know what? You all this your organization right now is looking like Boo Boo the Fool,
Hmm.
and you just gave up a Hall of Famer. Had you put the right pieces around, you could have been a, a Super Bowl champion. But hey, if you're a Giants fan, tell us what you think. Um, and Danny, on the other side, let me ask you this:
Hmm.
Patrick Mahomes. This was one of the worst games I've seen him play, if not the worst game in the Super Bowl. Not only in the Super Bowl, but this period. I believe this hurts his case as being quote unquote tapped as the greatest of all time. You can't be the greatest of all time and get whooped like this.
Hmm.
Not only like this, but when you all play Tampa, get whooped like this too. And I believe the stat was these two losses equates to about 40 plus points that you got whooped by in the Super Bowl alone. I don't think a GOAT goes through that, And I know there were some discussions earlier today about Joe Montana.
Hmm.
Is Patrick Mahomes even better than Joe Montana? And we got to put that into perspective because think about it, man. Montana has 4 rings. He was 4-0 in the Super Bowl. Not only that, no interceptions. I want to say it was like 11 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yep.
I mean, so instead of, looking at Tom Brady, comparing to Tom Brady, you got to deal with Joe Montana first.
Yeah. And I think one thing with this team this year was they were put together with duct tape, man. Straight
Mm-hmm.
up. Because they pulled when Rice went down, they brought back Juju Smith-Schuster. They brought in DeAndre Hopkins, but they did get Worthy, right? Travis
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey's kind of he's getting older, and they didn't have a running game because Pacheco
Mm-hmm.
was not himself when he got back from that broken leg, not what he showed the last couple years. I look at too with Brady. Brady has he has a volume, right? I look at Mahomes, man, and I think everyone was jumping down this down this path, and you still got to give him time.
Mm-hmm.
I think, with the three-peat, it would have been great. Shout out to Pat Riley. But I think it's just too early yet. You got to let his whole career play out. And and we're in this media world now where everything is like instant gratification. You got to let things play out. He's only what? He's still in his 20s,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
He has how many years possibly? And who knows if he even gets back because the NFL is the NFL.
Yeah, yeah, that
Uh,
part.
so that's where I look at as of now. Yeah, he's behind Montana and Brady based on what they did in their careers and the success they had in the playoffs. But his story is still being written.
Yeah, true enough. True enough. Um, we'll see. We'll see. I think Chiefs gotta go ahead and reload, man. I think they'll be spending this NFL draft drafting a whole lot of old linemen and
Man,
maybe some pass catchers as well. And I'll also say I think any Super Bowl halftime show is an accomplishment by an artist. That's something. It's high pressure. Um, they have 12 minutes to perform, uh, and it has to be very specific, tailored to the time. And so Kendrick Lamar performed and has SZA on there, and there are some other guest appearances with Samuel Jackson and Serena. Let's just say this was a very visual performance with a whole lot of Easter eggs in them.
hmm.
And I think I like that. I like that part about these Super Bowl halftime shows, man. Just the Easter eggs. If you don't like necessarily the performances, I'm just curious as to, from an artist standpoint, what are they trying to say without saying it?
Yep.
You know, I enjoy the performance personally. Last year you had the likes of Usher, and he had some Easter eggs or what have you out there. So this was a interesting Super Bowl. I think the pregame of it was good as well. I mean, where you had the Southern Human Jukebox Band out there. You had some of New Orleans' finest artists to perform, and so I was wondering how they were going to incorporate New Orleans into the mix, but not having like Lil Wayne or some other local rap phenoms, and so I think they mixed it all up pretty well. So congratulations also to uh, those performers and especially Kendrick Lamar and SZA for the halftime show. And now, Danny, on to a little NBA and where the trades have happened, and now we're looking to finally have teams on or these new players and new places um, actually be on the court.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a glimpse of Anthony Davis in a Dallas Mavericks uniform, and unfortunately, he got hurt. It looks like it's an abductor strain, and looks like he's going to be out multiple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So he was dominating while he was in there, and I mean,
Was.
he was going off, telling folks, "I am here," telling the fans, "I am here."
Yep.
Next thing you know, he was gone. So, man, that's going to be interesting. I do like the pairing between with him and Kyrie. That's going to be
Mm-hmm.
something else, and so looking forward to seeing more of that when he comes off of injury. And then tonight is that of Luka being in a Lakers uniform, and so this is going to be interesting to see. I know there was a trade that was rescinded between the Lakers and the Charlotte Hornets. We'll see Luka in the Lakers uniform tonight. What say you about these players in new places?
AJ, Anthony Davis, uh, that's tough, man. He came out like a man on a mission on Saturday, and to see him go down like that, it's tough to see, man, because you never want to see a player get hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for him to get injured, I guess the bright side of that is it happened now and not like in April.
Mm-hmm.
So he has some time, and he has the All-Star break coming up, and so he'll get some time to heal and get back into it. So he'll be ready for the playoffs. And the good thing with Dallas is they have depth in the front court, so that'll help. On the Lakers front, yeah, Luka, they thought he was making his debut on Saturday, so ESPN tried to get in front of it and put the Pacers Lakers on, but uh, that didn't matter because he didn't play. So they're playing tonight, and so he'll make his debut on ESPN in the late game against the Jazz. So looking forward to that. And then also the Lakers had a trade rescinded, like you mentioned, with Mark Williams. So now what do they do? Because that was the big they were leaning on with Anthony Davis leaving, and it was just a need for them. So I'm curious if they do anything in the off, the market where they can pick somebody up, but we'll see. And then also, Jason, Jimmy Butler's coming to Milwaukee tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy Butler made his debut on Saturday night against the Bulls, his former team. And in that game, he had a great game, but Curry went off. Well, he had 24 in the third quarter because they were getting beat pretty good, and they came back. So looking forward to the game tonight. I know Giannis is out until after the All-Star break,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
we'll see Jimmy Butler at the 5 serve. And one last thing, man. Yesterday, got to see Hubie Brown. He did his last game, calling the Milwaukee Bucks Philadelphia 76ers game. And it was a great tribute, I
Mm-hmm.
thought. We grew up on Hubie coaching and, being an analyst. And he's one of the, they don't make him like that anymore.
No, they don't. They don't.
And I don't know if people have a true appetite for that anymore. It's a different environment, the way he breaks the game down and kind of calls the game. For those of you who do not know, he started with the Milwaukee Bucks as an assistant back in the 70s. And he's had a long career, man, 91,
Mm-hmm.
go out on his own terms and everything. It was pretty cool. So uh, great to see. I was glad I was able to check that out yesterday, see all the tributes. And like the shot, like even Dame Lillard yesterday after the game in his post game interview, talking about him and Hubie and how he trailblazed things and how you give respect to those who put everything in front of you, and now you just take it to the next level. So
yeah, definitely, man. And we, like you said, we grew up on Hubie, and one of the things too, kind of go back here in terms of new faces and new places, man. Kyle Kuzma, for the Milwaukee Bucks, goes for 13 points against the Sixers. Also has 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. So he's filling the stat sheet, and this is going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. But to your point about Hubie, I think one of the stats that this really amazed me was Hubie actually coached or covered 80% of NBA players all time. That's crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hubie has a whole lot of basketball knowledge, man. He's seen the greats like no other. Man, I love the way he would break down the games as he commentates and analyzes the game, man. I just absolutely loved it, man. Anytime Hubie was there, it's a big game.
Yep.
And man, I just look so forward to hearing him call a game, man. So congratulations, Hubie, on a well-deserved retirement. Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.